In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at where the area of a circle formula comes from and why it's a equals pi r squared. So I have a circle here, and I've drawn 16 diameters across here. Okay, so that breaks the circle up into, well, 32 different sectors, and all these little skinny little sectors here. I've rearranged them into, now this would be a parallelogram. And see, I want to demonstrate that this is the same area as this. So I drew a couple of them. I just traced them out. So here's one here. And see if I put that, see, that is the same size as that. And then here's another one here. And see, it fits in just really nicely right there. So the, you see, this parallelogram here is just the rearrangement of all these pieces. So it should have the same area. Okay, so we're going to find what this area formula is, and that it's why it's a equals pi r squared, because we're going to find the area of this parallelogram. If you cut the circle into even more pieces, it would eventually look like a rectangle, but this is still really a parallelogram because this side isn't perfectly vertical, it's not perfectly straight up and down. Now, what are the dimensions of this? Remember, for a parallelogram or a rectangle, area is just base times height. The distance across the base multiplied by how high it is, the vertical distance. Well, what is that vertical distance? Let's draw a line here. So that distance right there, right down to the bottom, if I take that and move it over here to the circle, we can see that, see, that's the radius. That goes right from the center of the circle out and touches the circle. So that is the radius. So the vertical height here is r, the radius. Now, what's the distance along here? Well, see, all these edges right here are all the little arcs along the side of the circle. So if we take all of this, all these 16 plus all these 16 of them here, that's the total distance around the circle, which we call the circumference. And there's two circumference formulas for a circle. Circumference equals pi times diameter, and circumference equals 2 times the pi times the radius. So depending on whether you want to use diameter or radius, use one of those. Now I'm going to use this one here. Now the distance across the bottom is half of the circumference because this would be the same as this, and together those two things add to the circumference. So we want really just half the circumference. So if I divide this by 2, like this, see, 2 divided by 2 is 1, so that just works out to pi r. So the distance across the bottom here, which we call the base, is pi r. If you're not too sure about the dividing out, think of the 2 pi r like this. 2 pi r means there's 2 of these pi r's. So there's a pi r plus another pi r because of that 2. Well, so I've changed 2 pi r into pi r plus pi r, so like this would be a pi r across here, and this would be the other pi r across here. So that's another way to explain why the bottom is just pi r. So using our area for a parallelogram formula, the base is the pi r multiplied by, see, the height is this r. So the area formula for a circle is pi. And instead of writing r times r, we write that as r squared. R squared means r times r. So that's where the area of a formula for a circle comes from. So the area is just pi times r squared. And that's the end of the tutorial.